Now let's move on to the next kind of conditional statement. It's called Elif statement. Elif. Elif stands for else if. So this is basically else if. So the short form for it is Elif. So how does the Elif syntax work? Previously, we had two if statements, right? If the difference is greater than 0 or difference is less than 0. So there are two if statements and corresponding to if blocks. There is another version of this with Elif where we say if difference is greater than 0, execute this. Elif difference is less than 0, execute this. What is the difference between the two? So the way Python works is it looks at this statement. Is the difference greater than 0? If yes, execute this. If not, it will just ignore this block and then move on to this statement. And then again say less than 0. If yes, it will execute this. But with Elif, if greater than 0, it executes this block. But if it is not, it comes to this, checks if it is less than 0 and executes this block. Well, so far both these versions are exactly equivalent. But look at this. If it is greater than 0, if the difference is greater than 0, here is the difference. Then this block is executed and this block is not executed. So this will only be executed if this if fails or if it returns false. Now to understand this, I think it's better we do a bit of debugging. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, instead of going to Jupyter Lab, which is not very good for debugging, we are going to go to Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code or any of your favorite editor which supports debugging. So let's take this piece of code, go to Visual Studio, then take a new Python file. Okay. And then see how it works. User underscore floor equal to 3, and then we have just copied and pasted that code. We want to see how Elif works. Okay. But before that, let's check how if statement works. Okay. So I'm just changing the code slightly, and there we go. What is the current floor though? So the current floor, say the current floor is 6. Okay. The user is on floor 3 and the elevator is at floor 6. Now let's execute this. But before we execute it, I want to put something called as a breakpoint. Okay. So let's go to this gutter. So this area over here is called the gutter. Everything over here to the left of this little block. So this part is called the gutter. And this is where we're going to place a breakpoint. And the way to do this breakpoint is by placing your cursor here or anywhere you want to place this breakpoint, and right at that place a red dot hovers, and then you can just click there, like click, and then take your mouse off and that red dot stays. Meaning we want the execution of Python to stop at this statement, right? So now that we have placed this breakpoint, let's go to debug and say start debugging and say Python file. Okay, now you see this gray or olive bar. So this is where the current flow is. So this statement is already executed, and that's why you see that this is available here. And now we are at this statement, but it has not been executed yet. Now, how to execute it? One step. So go here and click on this button, and then it will move its execution from here to here. Click. See, it has moved from here previously to here, and now current floor is also available. Previously it was not. Now after this statement was executed, it became available for us to view. This is available, this is available. And you can see that it is set to 6, it is set to 3, which is correct. Now difference, the third variable, we are creating a third variable here called difference, and it's not available yet. But if you execute it, step one more line, see, difference is now available. What is the difference? -3. That is a negative. So which block will be executed? This block will be executed. So go here, click on this, step over. Okay, difference is less than 0. This block is executed, and current floor is set to user floor. Yes, okay. And then print move down. Okay. And then observe this carefully. Now this statement, this if difference greater than 0, is also executed. Well, it comes there and stops and checks if the difference is greater than 0. It might not execute what is inside this block, but this statement is checked. Because this if statement and this if statement are mutually exclusive, meaning there's no relationship between those two if statements. Both are independent of each other. So this statement is checked. Is the difference greater than 0? No, it's not. It's -3. So this statement is checked, and because it's found to be false, it will not execute what is inside that block. We can check it here. Right? That's it. Done. Because all the variables are cleared and the program execution has stopped. But what if you say Elif? Okay? So let's see what happens when you say Elif. So debug, start debugging. Python file. Okay, same thing. It stopped right where we placed the breakpoint. This line is already executed, and we are at this statement. Now let's move step by step. Step over. Now it's at this level. Step over. Now here, observe the difference. The difference is less than 0. Yes, the difference is less than 0. It's -3. So this block will be executed. So step over, step over. Now this is almost done, the first if block. Now will this block be executed or not? Earlier, the block was checked and it was found to be false, and this was not executed. But here I'm asking the question, right after this statement, will this statement be checked or not? Let's try. Execute, and then that's it. The cursor actually did not stop here. This was not even evaluated. Previously, when we put the if statement, this was evaluated and then found to be false, and then this was not executed. But in this case of Elif, it was not even evaluated. Why? Because this if and this if, Elif, are connected. How are they connected? What we are trying to say with this is, if this is true, then probably nothing else is true. Elif is not true. So don't even bother executing it. That is the key difference between if and a set of if statements and if and Elif. So when you write a set of if statements, if and then a conditional statement and then a block, and then if, a conditional statement and then another block, right? So this is checked first, and then if it is found to be true, this is executed, and then it goes here, checks if this is true. If it is true, then this is executed. If not, it is not executed. That's how a set of if blocks work. But if else works like this. If something is true, execute this block. Elif, else if this is true, execute this block. So what we are trying to say here is, okay, check if the statement is true. If it is not true, then check this also. And if it is true, execute this. So basically these two statements are linked. If one is true, this is not even executed. But in this case, this if block and this if block are not connected, meaning they don't have any relationship with each other. So that's an Elif statement. Okay, and we have already seen the picture of how Elif works compared to a set of if statements. And we have already seen how debugging works. So this is a useful skill. Make sure that you do some level of debugging, because as the size of a program increases, let's say beyond 20, 30, 40 lines, you'll not be able to get it right the first time or even after a couple of tries. So you really want like an X-ray to look into how this program is really working. And that's what debugging does. It's like an X-ray into your program. It lets you understand what's happening inside this program step by step. We'll understand more about debugging. We'll look at more aspects of debugging as we proceed with the course. But make sure that you have some level of understanding of debugging. And then finally, we have the else statement.